So could you share with us what the program is that you're doing now? You said the love something. What was it?
Yeah, so I joined the Absolutely Everything Pass for Kyle Cease. It's like free for 30 days, and I am almost through his program called Love Rising.
So
And
what is
so
that
it was
about?
so it was this 2-day event. It was his last Evolving Out Loud event. He did it at the Dolby Theater. It was this huge big
Ah,
thing. It was
big one.
his like it was his giant one of his giant leaps, right? So like he's embodied all of the stuff that he talks about since the beginning. But this was a really big step for him, to book this giant theater, that has a lot of history in like Hollywood and stuff. And without knowing, like if everybody was going to show up. And so it's a really interesting event, because Evolving Out Loud is all about he's just there. He doesn't have necessarily a big plan of what he's going to talk about, because he actually finds that inhibits him more than it actually helps him. So if he stays in the moment, he's actually can be there with people and the real things that they have to talk about. And he'll start off by like kind of just going into something that he wants to talk about. He gets into his heart and his body, and he starts realizing more things he wants to say. And then he'll put it back out to the audience, and he'll be like, okay, who resonates with this or not? And then usually someone will have a question or they'll have a situation, and he like pulls them up on stage and he does live coaching with them right there to get them into moving past limiting stories, and to heal a lot of the pain that we operate out of to create our perspectives in life and therefore our experience. And so it's really powerful to watch, because these people and him, they're all just like very, very in the moment and like very vulnerable about what's going on in their lives and in their bodies, because they'll start saying like, okay, so you have the story around what's going on in your life, right? And it could be like complicated or it could be simple, but it's like they'll start going into the story of like how bad it is or whatever. And then he'll be like, okay, so that's your story. That's fine. That's beautiful. And now let's drop into your body. And like, what are you actually feeling in this moment? Because that's not happening right now. You're up on a stage. You're on a stage. You're not in that situation right now. What is actually going on in you? Because we carry that story into every moment of our lives, even when we're not really in that experience. And we're telling ourselves things about it, and that we're making ourselves feel things about it, like shame or guilt or whatever, or maybe excitement if it's something good, and so yeah, so that's a kind of a short-ish synopsis of what that one's about. It's evolving out loud.
Yeah, I did a year ago. I'm looking now at the list, so I don't know if I did the limitation game or I did
Oh yeah.
the evolve. I think it was limitation game because it was around 12 hours of video
Yeah.
with exercises. So it was like pausing, doing the exercise, or doing with my girlfriend back then, and we would do these exercises, and then we would continue and we would watch till like 3 o'clock in the morning, and then go to sleep, and then still everything was processing. And I
Yeah.
think we did it in less than a week. We went through the all 12 hours
Wow.
doing all
Yeah.
the exercises, and the results were really great. And was what encouraged me a lot was to see how people would go on stage and indeed just surrender.
Yeah.
And that's what I also experienced in breakthrough workshops, where I participated or where I was leading, to see at a certain moment people just like, screw it, I have nothing to lose anymore. I'm at the lowest point. I cannot drop anymore. So, okay, whatever happens, just hit me. And then
Yeah.
they're just willing to start walking. And then they take that step, and then things start to change. That's so beautiful, and see the transformation.
Hmm.
And then when you see them a year or years later, and you see how much they grew, it's like, mwah, beautiful.
Yeah, exactly, right? When we actually can be honest, like honest about our lives, and then vulnerable and like sharing that, it's like I feel like we can go years without processing something just because we're not willing to be vulnerable about it or be honest. And so that's one of the reasons why I wanted to show up today for this, you know. I'm like, I want a group of people where we can actually be real with each other, and hold each other in that loving, compassionate space for whatever our dream is that we want to do. It doesn't have to be a business, but maybe it is, you know? And And I think too, what was it? Oh, one of the things that Kyle was talking about in the video was your leap or your step, whatever that is for you. Well, it's not like you have to take 1,000 steps all in one, right? It's just whatever the next step is. And then he said, for some, it's going to look different for everybody. For some people, they're extroverted, they're always out with people. And so maybe stepping back and like spending time in nature is their big step. For some people, if they're really introverted all the time, they like going and doing something extroverted or connecting with people is their big step. And then he gave a bunch of other examples too. Like it doesn't have to be, you can journal or you can meditate or you can whatever. And I was looking at that and I was like, well, I usually think about going and kind of having my time with myself, but I'm like, I think that's actually not the big step for me right now. The big step for me is showing up in this group, in these like with other people and being vulnerable. So that's why I'm here today. And I would love to hear
Oh,
from
you want
each
to
of
be
you.
vulnerable? Good. I'm coming with a pencil now.
Yeah. But yeah, if
Where's that bubble?
bring that bubble. Exactly. But yeah, feel free to share like what drew you here today. I mean, maybe obviously like somebody invited you for Alina, but like like what made you actually want to like show up today, and what would you like to get out of this?
Yeah, Alina, tell us why you're here today.
Well, I'm here today because you said that you will do a Zoom live, and I was curious to see what can get out of it.
Yeah.
And it's nice to connect with people around the globe and to interact and to change ideas, businesses, opportunities to develop. You never know what can came out of something like this.
Absolutely. So you're curious about the possibilities, sounds like.
Yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah, and as background, Alina is the one with whom I did the Friends in Business for 1 full year. 12 months, second Wednesday of the month, or an evening.
Yeah.
So
it actually, it was one of our needs to be in a community. But we can be in a community on Zoom. We don't have to meet in a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly.
Face to face. You can be face to face on Zoom.
Yeah, so why don't we see your face now?
I don't know how to put my face here, so next time.
Next time. That's okay.
I mean, when Sarah is well again, you drop by as usual for lunch, and then we'll do a test, and yeah, we'll figure out how it works.
Okay. Yeah, Sarah now.
That's really how we do it. We
so
meet for lunch.
I can be live here. Yes, I can be here until she wakes up.
Yeah, that's fine.
If I just disappear, is not that. Yeah, if I just disappear, doesn't mean that the talking is not interesting, but I have to take care of her, especially today when she has
the
a flu.
attention, Sarah will sleep very well for another hour, easily.
She sleeps from 3:30, so.
Wow, that's a lot. That's almost 3 hours.
To wake up.
6 hours, I mean. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We have the Zoom for until about 9:40, I think, because that's when I'll cut us off. So we have at least that amount of time.
Because we're three, yes, the 40 minutes.
So Lotfi, you tell us about you and why you're here.
Yeah, during the watch party, I started sharing things, insights what I got, and then people start reacting to that, and then other people share the insights, I reacted to that, and then I just felt like, okay, I felt, okay, here are some people with whom we need to connect, and then I popped the comment about let's organize this thing, and then you jumped in like, yay, I felt that yesterday. And so I was like, okay, something is born. And then more people reacted. Okay, none of them shows today, but that is usual, or they couldn't, or I mean, it's fine. They will just see later on the recording. That's why I said let's record, so they will see like actually we pulled through, we did it.
Yeah.
And so it's up to them now if they want to be part of this to join.
Yeah.
And I'm doing the entrepreneurial shift now.
Nice.
And one of the tasks of day 4, I think, was to go through my whole contact list. I mean, I will obviously not do that because there are over 3,000 on Facebook alone. To see who uh, has a positive input. So skipping all the no-sayers, like yeah, 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 and there's a no, why this, and then I'm not sure you can. No, all those up aside. Those who are like, hey, that's a great idea. How about adding that on top? Who just want to grow, who look at potential. It's like what I described why I love the gene keys and I don't like so much human design or astrology, because they're like, okay, this is the situation, get used to it. And gene keys is about, here's a potential.
Yeah.
You decide how far you go. And for me, that is how I can grow. I mean, staying in where I am, I've done that for 40 years almost. And then I was like, okay, enough. Now I need to do something else. And so I started making the list, and till now I have, okay, the list is far from ended, but I have 3 yes, and then a whole list of 20 something of maybes. So these people I had a good talk with, but then I didn't hear anything anymore. So I will check them one by one and see, like, okay, are these people who will pull through or not? Because in the end I want to have a group. It can be very small. I mean, 3 people is already enough, but if there are more, it's welcome, with whom I know I can regularly have a talk and get feedback, get insights, share, and from their side as well, because that is what we need to sometimes just have somebody who looks at it from a different perspectives and then says, like, I get what you mean, but maybe you should say it differently, because this is what people, I mean, like changing the language sometimes. Like if I would do a course about grounding, a company would think like, that's too fluffy. Well, if I change the words into relaxation, focus, concentration, stress prevention, things like that, then like, yay, we want, but it's exactly the same, but just different words, and then people suddenly understand what you're talking about. Because I've seen a lot of people who are so much into their stuff, what they do, that they talk a language, and I'm like, what? And then sometimes I recognize words because I have been doing a lot of things, but Charlie, I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're so in their own world, and then they're astonished that nobody wants to do business with them. While they have a wonderful product, they're great people, they have good energy, but yeah, lost in translation.
Yeah.
And then that is so crucial, and that's, for example, kind of talks that I have with Alina regularly. I think we meet now, the last few months we met every 2 weeks. And then we would sit and then look at, okay, how is this applicable, this idea, in where we are now, with the people that we come across? How would we fine-tune it so that for them it becomes interesting, understandable first, and then interesting? Or like, for example, Alina is doing a lot of great work for a charity, and if I would go to a company and say, hey, would you like to support? I should bring it in such a way that they understand that, hey, tax deductible benefits them. So it's a win-win. And then they're like, yay. But if I say, would you like to donate money? Huh? What? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said. Because, yeah, it's not the first thing people want to hear, even if they have plenty of money. But it's just, how do you wrap it? Is it a nice wrapping paper, or is it ugly wrapping paper? And that can make a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah. And getting that valuable feedback from other people, right? So that really helped you, it sounds like, too, or both of you working together with each other, being able to say, like, you're trying to say this, but I'm hearing this with that language around it or whatever, right? So, and it's hard, and you're totally correct, because like, I know I've done that too, and I actually need to go and like totally change my website for that specific reason, is that I think I really got into a lot of this language that for me, like I really enjoyed, but I don't know if it really connects with like a lot of the people that I would want to serve. And because I get really interested in like consciousness and energy healing and all this other stuff, right? And so I'm like kind of pushing that direction, talking a lot about that. But I'm like, how can I just make this much more concrete? You know, like I like to get into theory a lot. But I also know that like I get into theory because I personally know what that does practically in your life, but I need to actually be talking about that versus going over here. So
Yes, the theory is for you to
yeah, I know.
understand, and then
Yeah,
the practical is for the others to understand.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly.
okay, yeah. So,
Yeah, exactly.
so basically, what you need is two kind of people then. Some
Mm.
people who are very practical, who force you to talk practical,
Right.
and their feedback is helping you. Like, okay, this was not practical enough the way I said it because he or she didn't understand. So once
Mm.
they understand, then you know, okay, now this is what I can sell. And then other people with whom you talk about the theoretical stuff for
Mm-hmm.
you to further develop yourself, and that you can use later and translate into practical again in
Yeah.
in an applicable way. So I guess you would be looking at two groups of people then, or two different
Yeah.
people, or whatever it is. But so that, but be very aware, like, okay, this is for me digging in deep, and that is for what I have to present or to the world.
Yeah. No, I like that perspective a lot, right? Because I still like all that. And I think it's good, really good for the personal development to have that side where you really are talking about like, what is the framework and the philosophy that you're using? Because that's going to completely influence what you're actually doing with people. Right. So you do need like your community of support around that, but then also around like, okay, the person is actually coming to me, like they just want to know, are you going to help me? You know, because they have something that they want help with or support with or whatever, right? That's all they want to know.
I need this to fit in this, or
Yeah.
vice versa.
Like, don't make it complicated.
I don't care how you do it, just get me to.
Yeah. You know, I mean, like, and yes, you can talk about kind of like the steps at which, or like whatever, or like whatever the process is, because maybe they want to know that too. But like, often I think you're right. Like, we totally get way into our world, our language around things. We're talking to other coaches. We're like, oh yeah, this, but they already understand what we do. You know, and so it's like how to actually, yeah, talk to the regular person.
Actually,
So,
my mentor was doing that a lot because with him I was talking on the spiritual side, but he was also sharing with me what his day job was, which was health and safety inspector in
oh, okay.
companies to prevent accidents
Mm,
or to go when there was an accident and then he had to do an investigation. But he preferred to prevent and not just to go out and give a fine, but explain to people the why they should do something, like remind them like, hey, if you're not careful here, then you'll have an accident and then you cannot provide for your family. And the guy will be like, oh wait, and then the word family was the thing that would trigger the person to actually understand like, this is damn important.
yeah.
Otherwise with, why would I do, yeah, because, and then so those, he was making these translations, and then with me he would talk about spirituality and go very much in depth to that.
Mm,
And it's a funny thing that Alina, for example, she did study certain things, but she never talks about it in public. But she and I, we do talk about it from time to time. But then she's very good at helping me to focus on how I'm going to translate my message to the corporate world. Because she has
mm,
been working in the corporate world like forever since she started. She has been dealing with companies and stuff like that, and now she has big companies that she's supplying. So she has the focus there. So that's why I love talking with Alina, because she brings me back to, okay, the simple language that everyone understands,
yeah.
and what are their needs. And yeah, so this balance is really important, and I believe that if people would just think about this at least once a day, a lot of coaches, healers, whatever you call them, would start to make much more money, simply because people start to understand them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even having that feedback from someone else kind of helps when you have a blind spot to something where you really think it's obvious, because it's obvious to you, which is beautiful, but but maybe it's not as like obvious to somebody else. So Alina, I would love to know too, like what of this conversation is resonating with you, and like where are you at with maybe like wanting something from this group, some sort of feedback, or maybe like over time, what's something that kind of inspires you from what we're saying?
I was just listening to your discussion, and I realized that what you said, it's very simple. You can say like putting yourself in the client's shoes. So that's it. And you will know what to tell when you understand the client, whoever is the client.
And so you've had a lot of experience in corporate? That's what.
Yes, I have.
Or businesses?
All my life I was in a business, and this year I think is the year when I will become vulnerable, like you said.
Yeah.
And
really?
And making a step in the social project.
Interesting. Okay.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, so that was something I was going to ask today too, because this is our first meeting, right? And so it was going to be, I would love to know, like, what is that vision, that thing that you're wanting to step into? Because that's part of what we want to do here, is to like support each other in our vision, our dream for this next year or whatever. So do you want to share a little about that?
Yes, of course, why not? So last year I finally heard what someone was telling me for a few years, that he has some foundation, an NGO that I can take care of if I want. Wow. So I was like, oh, maybe I want. Let's see more. And I started to get involved. And this year, I think, is the year when we have to structure all the activities. And one project will be related with stop food waste.
Oh, yes.
Yes. And I realized that the European Union has an entire law about this, and we have to take some actions to stop to waste the food. So this is the project that I want to run this year, to see how we can collect food from different restaurants, shops, and other businesses, and maybe also to start to have some finances for this European projects, or maybe only local projects with some European funds or local funds. Wow. But to start to also support these activities, not only from our monies.
Yeah, that is so important.
Yeah, because how many people are involved now, Alina, in the food part? How many people are going every day to pick up and redistribute?
Have 13 shops from where we take from Tuesday till Friday we collect food, and weekly I think we deliver food we assure food for 100 people per day, people and also kids per day. Yeah. So we offer food for them. Actually, we collect food that otherwise would go to garbage, and we take it and offer to families with a lot of kids, and also families that cannot support their daily food.
Yeah.
Now the little one is waking up.
That's waking up, yeah. Yeah. No, that is really, really awesome. And because I know that food waste is a huge, huge deal, that we actually do have enough food to feed everybody, but we're just tossing it, a lot of it, especially in the US too. So
yes, it's a global issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have the restaurants, you have supermarkets, you have catering companies. It's almost everywhere where you look, there is food and there is food being thrown out because
Yes,
it's
and
getting overdated or it's not allowed to be sold, but generally on the last day you can still bring it to somebody who can eat it. And many foods also have these dates, but actually you can eat them even 2 days later. You will not get sick from it if you know the
yes,
regulation.
yeah, we don't know how to read the labels because we have two labels on the product. We have expires when you cannot eat that food, but we also have good until the date. But this means that you can eat the food after that date, but some qualities may disappear, but it doesn't mean that the food is not good anymore.
Yeah, absolutely. And so what are you doing in that organization? So you'd be like running the whole thing?
Yeah, I cannot say that I'm running the whole
Oh.
thing, but I'm involved there. I'm more on the strategic part involved.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
And you did drive around a lot in the first few months, filling up the car with all the bags of food and then going to charity here and to a monastery
Yes,
there
I was a volunteer.
and the children.
Yeah, I was a volunteer.
Cool.
But we have a lot of opportunities from where to collect food, but we don't have logistics. So this is a little bit frustrating. So this is why I decided, okay, we need to make some money to get the logistic and to save the food that would go to garbage.
Yeah, because only working with volunteers can be very difficult.
Yes, and all the volunteers need cars. Sometimes they can go by public transport, but if they have a lot to carry, then it is not very proper for them. And to have cars, they need gas to put in, and some volunteers, they don't have money to put gas in the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not only the rich who are doing this, it's also the poor helping people who are as poor or even poorer. So
Yes.
yeah, so good structure is needed to, to rebalance and find a way to get everyone, being able to do what he can. I mean, one person indeed has a lot of time and the other person has a car and then the third person actually has the money. So they work together, then one person can borrow that car, fill it with that person's money, the gas, and then drive. I mean, but yeah, you need a lot of organization for that.
Creative ways for sure. So what about you, Lakfi? I know I'm keeping an eye on the clock too, because I don't know if Zoom just like shuts us off or what happens.
Yes, they say that they actually cut it off, but we
They
can
do?
just restart after that with a new link. If there's
Okay. I do
how
have a
many minutes
meeting
are
at
left?
10 personally. I just realized. So
Okay. Oh, okay. Then how much is left now? Like
we
5
have
minutes.
about, yeah.
Okay. So your question, please?
Just to share a little bit about your vision, for what you would like to do in the next maybe year or even 30 days, like how this group could support you in a vision.
Wow, good question. The thing I'm good at is to see opportunities, possibilities, connect dots. So resourcefulness is one of my strengths. So I see possibilities and I'm like, okay, we need to connect here. Or I talk with somebody, I'm like, hey, have you thought about doing that or doing that? And that is something actually I would like to monetize more. Because now it's like I'm giving a lot of free advice and people take it and then they use it or they don't use it. But yeah, I'm like, it's valuable. I know it's valuable, and if people are serious and they start using it, their business will really do this. Or even in the private lives, they can do this. Okay, for the private life, we call it life coaching, and people are paying for that, so that's fine. But on the business side, and that's something I will look at doing tomorrow, for example, in my business meeting, to also offer that as an additional service on top of what they're asking me for now, to help them to expand things or to structure things in such a way that they have more stability when it comes to income, to which customers are returning, for example, and other things. Because often you see businesses, they just start to thrive because stuff is just coming, and then they have no structure. So either they get overloaded or they just manage, and at a certain moment business goes down, and then they're like, what happened? Yeah, you didn't build relationships, for example. You didn't think about retention or returning clients, or actually sharing with your clients what else you have to offer, because maybe they took this one thing from you and then they didn't know that you have so much more. So there are many things that I can help people to, yeah, just be aware, not even start new things. It's not that I'm going to give them extra work. Yeah, they'll have some work by making a list of certain things, what they already can and what they are doing or what they have done. But it's more about restructuring what they already have and making their gifts available, because most of people's gifts are unavailable because nobody knows that they have them.
Sometimes even your own self, right? So like having someone reflect back to you, like, hey, you're basically saying you're really good at this. Yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah, that was also one of the lists, what Kyle said in the entrepreneurial shift, like, yeah, these lists to make them. And I started doing this already a few years ago, working with people, having them make lists, and then they would suddenly realize so many things about what they like, what they don't like, what they're good at, what they're not good at. And then, yeah, having that clarity frees a lot of time and energy, because you know, okay, for these things I need to find somebody to do that for me, and I can focus on that, and I will feel so much better, and I will start actually to generate money so I can easily pay those people to do all that stuff that I hate. And yeah, but you need some kind of structure, and a lot of people need actually somebody with whom they meet every week, and maybe not with a stick or a whip, but like, did you do your homework? Did you do that thing? Because if you're not, you're not going to move forward. To just remind them. And most of us actually need that. We call it in Dutch the stick behind the door. So you have to keep going forward.
Yeah.
Because otherwise we slow down, and then in the end, and we missed the boat again, or we missed the wave. And yeah, that's a pity if you do that. So it's one of the things I'm good at, actually, is keeping people in motion by motivating them, by reminding them why they started this thing in the first place, helping them to remember that. That's actually the first thing I start with, is getting people to the core. Why did you start that business? Why did you quit that job? Why? What was the first reason? Okay, remember that. That is your core. Always go back to that and start from there. Do your things. And if you do that, you stay in integrity with yourself, so you don't harm yourself. You don't do the things that are not good for you, but you start to generate, more good things around you. And by that, you start to attract good things as well. So the right people start to come on your path, being customers, suppliers, partners, people to brainstorm with, friends, even loved ones. When your energy is good, you start to attract. When your energy is shitty, you attract shit.
Yeah, that's true.
Flies, or rats, cockroaches. You don't want those in your life. You want, those who help you up.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, that is so cool. So it sounds like you've been doing a lot of the life coaching, so now you're on this branch off into doing more like with businesses and with strategy and like, yeah, so building out. See, it's almost like you're building out too. Like as you, in the same skills that you help with other people, you're going to be helping yourself build that out too. So I'm going to look at the time right now. We might get cut off here in a minute, hopefully not while we're in mid-sentence. But Latvia and I were talking about doing this maybe a few times a week and just saying like maybe 3 times a week, maybe for 30 days, right? So not like from now until forever, but just be like, if we started something, what could happen in 30 days? If we actually met like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and we actually really support each other and we showed up, maybe we did some Kai Legoing. We didn't do it today, but maybe next time. And just like really get into our vision and our why and help each other take action steps and feedback. And there's lots of things we could do here. So I was just going to put that out there. we'll probably be creating a Facebook group or something. I think we talked about that. And getting I might have to just get the pro version of Zoom so that we can have longer than 40 minutes. I think maybe I'll just do that. So maybe by Wednesday we can have a little bit longer meeting or a little more flexibility around the meeting, so we don't have to like jump off right now, pretty much.
Okay, you still have like 20 minutes, you said, right?
Me?
So you and I can talk about practical things after this call for 10 minutes?
Yeah, maybe like 10 minutes because I have to get on another call. Okay, yeah.
Good. Alina, one
Good.
last word?
See you Wednesday.
See you Wednesday.
Okay.
Yay! Awesome.
Good. Alina then.
Okay. Good.
Have a wonderful evening and day for you.
Okay, you too. Have a nice evening. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.